Chad, since this doc covers like a 10-year period of your life, essentially, so like what was it that stood out to you most seeing yourself back then when you're making the first John Wick versus to the filmmaker you are today?
Wow, good question. Uh, it,
So many less gray hairs.
yeah, right. No, man, it's nostalgic in a weird kind of way, but like both good and bad. But like I have a very different kind of outlook on all that. Like you can't. People always would you choose. You can always ask if you go do something different, right? But like if you don't make those mistakes you made, you can't be where you are now. And because of like Guillermo del Toro or Orson Welles would always say, movies are a series of happy accidents. It's never the plan that comes through like a script. Like you see all the scripts around me right now, like those aren't movies. Those are ideas for movies or blueprints, but the house rarely comes out like the blueprint, right? You have a plan, you go, but without those mistakes, without those things, it wouldn't have happened. Like Dave and I on the first one, we had the arrogance of ignorance for sure. We were already coming from a very successful action and second unit directing career, so we thought we kind of knew everything. We had a massive ego at the time, right? And we realized the first weekend we didn't know fuck all anything. We were in trouble. Like, we had to figure a lot of things out. And the way we figured them out and the people that taught us, we couldn't have been that receptive or we wouldn't have been that deep in it had we not made those mistakes. So you look back and I look at it with a great deal of fondness and a great deal of humility. Like I look at when Josh showed me the documentary, I look at and the documentary went through a couple phases, right? With different storylines and different threads. And it starts off as a monster and you tone it down. But like, a big chunk of, I think the first version you showed me, Josh, was a lot of mostly John Wick 1 and the setup and all the stuff we did. So we spent a lot of time in that world. And that was, you can actually see the mistakes happening in the documentary. You almost want to cry out to the ghost of Christmas past going, yeah, I wouldn't do that if I were you. Like you're talking to the movie, right? So like, look, it's fun to watch. It makes my palms sweat a little bit. But Keanu and I do nudge each other as we watch it, going, remember how dumb we were back then. And but you can track hopefully you can watch the movies and see if you ever had a weekend to waste watching John Wick movies. But like hopefully you see us. We did try to get better. We rationalized what we screwed up and tried to get better as filmmakers as we went. So I hope that answers your question. It's
Yeah, yeah,
both
absolutely.
difficult and entertaining to watch.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's just it was just so cool seeing the growth. And so like Josh, when you're similarly like when you're conducting these interviews with Chad and Keanu and everyone that was involved with these films, and you're obviously on set, you were very involved with these films as well. So like what were you immediately picking up when you're conducting these interviews and seeing how they talk about the different films? Because it seems like the first one, a lot of people remember very more like a grueling process, whereas like as it gets long, it gets a little more fun, it gets a little more creative.
Yeah, I mean, that's been one of the more interesting things for me to witness is, I think, and you see this in the documentary, is that in the first film, you see an incredible struggle to get it made. One, because, you know, there wasn't a budget, there wasn't any financing, there wasn't any belief in John Wick. And two, as Chad said, they were new directors making mistakes and it was a hard job to take on. And they invented something entirely new. So that part of it was there. But as time went on and they made John Wick's 2, 3, and 4, I really was stunned by Chad and Keanu's growth just as filmmakers. Like they really worked their asses off to invent and populate a universe of their own making in a way that I've never seen before. And it was as hard as we make it sound, as much as we call it pain, like it was just a joy to watch that they just were inventive and had fun and had this incredible commitment to the design of action and to the growth of this entirely imagined world and universe that's like, as complicated in the end as Lord of the Rings or anything else like that, even though it feels kind of real and heightened. So that's been the thing for me that's been the most amazing. And I don't want to blow smoke up Chad's ass, but like I feel like by the fourth film, he was like working on like a Sergio Leone level of scene craft, like really just like coming into a place, considering every aspect of how a scene in a sequence might play out and telling the story in the absolute most optimal way. And that's like the coolest thing you can witness when you're watching people make movies.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chad, you've been I think, I mean, the title of the doc is Wick is Pain. And it feels like your pain is focused on quite a bit throughout which I can't imagine was easy to relive through some of those moments in your life. So, and then did that kind of give you like a different perspective, seeing your vantage point of that pain now versus how you're reacting to it as a young filmmaker, like you said?
Um, no, it's good. Like again, you know, you have to ask Joshua. I think between Josh and Keanu, Keanu used to always say every time Wick is pain, Wick is pain, Wick is. I think that's. I mean, I think he said it probably about 4,000 times. I think that's probably why the title was chosen. That was Keanu's little mantra. But it's also Keanu says it the best. I think the best wrap up line is right at the end where Keanu describes what pain really means. You have pain, like a relationship is painful. It's painful when you're hurt, when you miss them. It's painful to love somebody. That's not a bad pain. You know, the gym. I mean, we're in the gym 6 days a week with our stunt teams every morning, even now. You know, and that's pain, but it's the pain we choose to endure because that's what we that's how we choose to spend and enjoy our lives, right? Because it's our pain. It's pain for an effort that we choose. You know, so it is filmmaking painful. Every director you will ever interview would say, yeah, it's a shit fight. It's painful. Whether it's fighting with, you know, the people you're collaborating with, whether it's studio producers, accountants, financiers, other cast members, you know, department heads, or whether it's, you know, the pain of opportunity cost of your life, or it is the actual pain of shooting 100 days of nights, you know, when
That's what
you're
I
in
was
the
gonna
rain and the
say.
mud and, you know, you got dogs, kids, cats, again, everything's going up and, you know, nothing's working right and you're running out of money. But at the end of the day, it's a little different than life, right? Like it's sometimes life deals us a hand that we don't get to choose. And when you can't control or choose the pain, it's horrible. We've all been there. But when you do choose the pain, we're choosing to be on that set. You know, we're choosing to put our time and our energy and exert our will on a situation that we fought so hard to get there. Do we all wish it would be easier? Yeah. But you tell me one great thing that was ever accomplished without a little bit of, call it the opportunity cost of life. Some people call that pain, some call it suffering. Like we just got a group of people together that didn't just want to climb the mountain for a beautiful view. We enjoy the climb. We enjoy the struggle. It's that 2 feet in front of you. It's gaining that inch every day. Like when you put a movie together, you could spend okay, the staircase shot, like, you know, in John Wick 4. Like we were done with that sequence in less than 4 days, but it took 4 months to prep. I mean, that's not in life. That's a weird, you know. I mean, are you
Hmm.
willing to trade 4 months of your life, cut out other scenes, save that money for those 4 minutes of film? Like you struggle every day to make 30, 40, 50 setups. So you piece together 8 seconds of film. Are those 8 seconds something that's going to hit the zeitgeist and make you and me and everybody else happy and go, wow? I mean, we think it will. So we think that's worth every ounce of our effort because when you stand there and you have people in these interviews or in the documentaries or stuff like that go, wow. I mean, that's our high. That's we've, like Josh said, we start with a blank page, right? We don't, then we have an idea about this crazy kooky guy in this kooky world and a puppy. And next thing you know, it's a movie. Then the franchise that is like, and the sequences we get to do, like, you know, that's, we think that's, you know, that kind of exertion is definitely worth the outcome. So yeah, the pain is there. The pain is rough and you know, it hurts, but it's worth every bit of it, I think. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The pain makes it worth it, honestly. And so Josh, when you're seeing this, when you're combing through all this footage, and you're seeing like these guys, Chad and David, become, you know, like these big time directors over the course of 10 years. So like when you, but it's also like a fan, like there's a whole family element of these John Wick movies where you're seeing so many people realize their dreams. I think I forgot the young man's name, the stunt coordinator for John Wick 4, who's like, I'm on my own now, and like because he had this big like there was people looking before after him before. So it's like when you're seeing all this, like when you make this doc, was that kind of an ulterior or like what you're trying to get across? Like you work hard, if you work kind of just trying to achieve your dreams, you can do it depending on the kind of work you put in.
I think so. I mean, there's a lot of luck involved with achieving your dreams, obviously, but I mean, to speak to, you might have been talking about Scott Rogers, the stunt coordinator of John Wick 3 and 4, and
I
he's
think you're
actually
talking about Jeremy, actually.
Yeah,
oh,
Jeremy. Yeah, that's his name. Sorry.
Hi, Courtney.
None of these people are young anymore, of course. They used to be. But Scott, just to speak to Scott, Scott's making his own movie right now. So that is a thing right there. And I mean, I feel like Jeremy is someone, to speak to him, who like he was someone sweeping the floor in 8711 when I first met him. And by the end, he was choreographing these intensely complicated scenes for Chad in Berlin, and probably working on 4 other projects at the same time. And he's just an intensely gifted person who works hard at all times. So I love to think that the great lesson of all this is that, like, hard work, focus, attention to detail and your body and to art really does pay off. There's a little bit of luck involved too, and I know Chad will agree with me on that. But I also just think, like, it's been, all I ever want to do with my storytelling is just encourage people to make more art, and that's what this is supposed to do.
Yeah, yeah, it really motivates you. And then Chad, you get to see because you worked on 8711 action design for the last 10 years as well. So like where you get to see where it started from to where it is today.
Mhm.
And like I saw that I probably had seen it a long time ago when chapter 3 came out, when I think it's Jackson who does the jump off the building or the fall off the building. And the way I can't imagine how you would have reacted if you had seen that on John Wick 1 versus how you react on John, where you just kind of have he describes the conversation you have. So, like I don't know, what kind of is the prep make you that confident? Like, oh, this may have gone wrong, but it didn't because he's that well trained, or what started your
Um,
mindset to kind of get like
well,
that calm and
yeah,
collected?
go one step back. It's not the word prep, it's the people who prep. It's always
Hmm. Sorry.
you hire the best, you get the best. You train the best, you get the best. Like we're pretty uncompromising with that. Like, you know, it's always like it's always tricky when you're trying to get the best. You're trying not to be an elitist. It's not an attitude thing. It's not us or them. You're just trying to find like-minded people that don't want to settle, right? That want to explore and be good. And that's not. I'm not even talking about myself. Most of the people on my team, I have a very strong will and I have a very strong mindset. Like I can focus very intensely. I have certain assets that made me kind of who I am now. Physically or talent speaking, I'm on the low end of what's in 8711. As far as physical talent goes, I don't even compare to my top 20% of what our people can do, men and women. Um, I'm on the low end of that. Um, and I've experienced many performers that are physically very gifted, but it's also the mindset where as good as they are, it isn't enough. They want to be pushed, they want to expand, and they want to work on properties or projects that allow them to be more than they are. And if they don't know something, it's not that sucks. I don't want to learn that. I'm too good for that. It's, oh, I don't know that. I better learn that. And not only am I going to learn it, I'm going to be the best person in the world at it. You have a couple of those people, and then you get the other side of it where, okay, we want to do this. We have someone like Jackson that acrobatically and kinesthetically is physically gifted enough to do all that stuff. How are we going to do it safely and fool the audience? Right. And then that's a whole nother level of stunt riggers and action design guys that figure out how to do it safely and all that. So if you have those people, yeah, there's always trust, there's always accidents, there's always Murphy's Law and chance and all that stuff. But like, if you have the best people and you know that their mindset isn't about being the best, it's about doing the best at what they do, that gives you confidence that I think very few people actually experience, because you have to drop your own ego and realize, nah, you're not the smartest guy in the room. These people are. And if you
I'm
get
going
the
to
right
give you
people,
I'll give you a quick story about Jackson and Chad really quick. The first time I ever met Jackson was in 2008 on a movie called Ninja Assassin that Chad and Dave were stunt coordinators on. And we went out to dinner at Soho House in Berlin with about 12 stunties, including Chad. We drank a lot of wine. It was a very nice dinner. at the very end of the dinner, Chad said, Jackson, you're paying for this. Jackson was like probably making, I don't know, $300 a day or something to work on that movie. And Jackson was like, what are you talking about? And Chad was like, you were late to the van today. So Jackson had been late by 2 minutes to the van to get to work. And that's just testament again to Chad training them and teaching them the value in hard work, showing up on time and getting the work done. So there's some shaping being done by this guy that he probably doesn't take enough credit for.
Awesome. No, that dude is so seeing some of the stuff he does is just so cool. And I don't want to keep you guys too long, but like the doc ends on a little bit of a because you guys are like never sure if you wanted to do John Wick 5. I think it's been announced, but and I don't want to get too much into that, but you gave we talked the last time we talked after John Wick 4, you gave John the Spike Spiegel ending on the stairs. You leave it a little ambiguous, but it's like, so what kind of clicked in your head? Because you said, hey, I can change my mind then tomorrow. But I don't know, like after every movie's done, you're like, I never want to do this ever again. But then you're just like, you get an idea and it's like you and Keanu are ready and rolling. So what kind of sparked your interest to get to this point where we're hearing about this whole John Wick universe expanding?
Oh yeah, good question. Look, we're open to the possibility of it. Like Keanu and I both, it would have to be in a very different way, and we have some ideas. Um, there enough of an idea and enough of a desire to keep the option open. We have our thoughts. Do we have a solid, oh, we're gonna no, but that's how they always start. Like first we need a little time off. You know, most of I think all the great directors that I respect, they take as much time off as they can to explore other things and research other projects. You know, I've never been the guy that's gone job to job to job to job. I like taking my time and sussing things out. And Keanu and I took a good 2 years off of other things. We've put our creative efforts into the John Wick anime that's going and the John Wick TV show, which is going, which we think are super cool. And it's kind of through that you get to explore areas that we couldn't have done in a John Wick based series because we're so focused on John Wick. Now without John Wick, we've got all these other great characters and storylines going. And I think it's through that we have a little bit of desire and hopefully will lead to a little self-discovery about where we want to take him next. Does that answer your question? So I don't mean to be so ambiguous or
No,
elusive.
no, you got, yeah, no,
The idea is
I
still
didn't want to get
forming
too much
and
into it, but
it's just the main thing is, do you have the desire? Do Keanu and I miss it? Would we like to? Yeah. Do we have it all sorted out yet to be a rock solid idea? No, not yet.
awesome. Well, thank
Again,
you so
if
much.
you're to do something on that level, it's got to be for the right reasons. Like we keep
Yeah,
saying,
yeah,
we've got to really, really love it. It's got to be the one that goes, okay, there's a reason to do this.
yeah. No, I remember
We
after
just want to
three,
have it dialed in before. So if we do talk about it, then we're like, okay, we have it.
yeah, no, I remember you telling me after three that the story ends with John dying, then you kill him in four, and then now we're hearing he might be back. So I know you're a big anime
Yeah,
fan.
no, he's tricky to kill, that John
Yeah,
Wick.
yeah, yeah. But I can't wait to see what you guys are cooking up. But thank you guys so much for your time. I can't wait for everyone to see the documentary. Um, it's just fantastic. So I can't wait for everyone to see it. Thank you guys.
That's
Thanks,
nice, everyone.
Rohan.
Thanks.
Bye.